Hi, this is Joseph Arthur. Thanks for checking out Come to Where I'm From. Please support us on Patreon, patreon.com/come to where I'm from. We are an independent podcast, and any contributions you can make are greatly appreciated. All right. What you got there?
Oh, this is a little Prosecco.
Nice. How you feeling?
Okay, I'm glad that's done.
Yeah.
It's still like a little nerve-wracking playing these songs because I just haven't had quite. I've been so busy with. Oh, hey.
Yeah.
I've been so busy with touring, all summer and all for the past 2 years, and then getting off that cycle, and then with the band, not my own.
Alice in Chains.
And so I just haven't had enough time to get inside these songs the way I want to, because you get back home and then you get into your life, and then I'm doing all the administrative stuff for the release of this record. So it's just been a tornado after tornado, but none of it involving actually sitting down and playing these songs. So I was just really glad I could get through them.
So yeah, like what Miles Davis said is, it's not performing, it's like rehearsing in front of people.
That's it. Yeah.
That's a good attitude to have.
That's it.
I actually heard you say that in a live concert. I was watching Alice in Chains on YouTube, and you said something like that to a festival crowd. You said, "We're rehearsing up here."
Exactly.
You remember saying that?
I can believe I said that.
Yeah.
And I definitely I hold true to that statement from Miles as well.
Yeah. Well, it's a freeing way to think about it.
Right.
I mean, I'll tell you what, man, for solidarity, I'm in the same exact space you are. Mm-hmm. I'm freaked out because I'm going to FUV tomorrow. My solo album comes out October 11th. Mm-hmm. My manager's like, I'm picking you up tomorrow, and we have a podcast tomorrow. It's like conflicting things. Like, it's crazy. And then also just like the fear, like, like I'm aware of fear, and I'm like, wow, it's just like the fear of releasing something, and just like, what will people think? And, like what you're doing, performing more stripped down.
Yeah, and nothing to hide behind.
It's not maybe in your wheelhouse specifically.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something I've done. Not something I've done publicly on this scale at all.
Right.
And so it's a whole new thing from that perspective, and the idea of releasing a record like that, solo acoustic, one voice, one guitar for the entire record, and kind of like asking that of the listener. Like, hey, this is what it is. And can you dig it? You know what I mean? And it's like it's not something that most people would have expected from me, given my history, and that's exactly why I did it. But yeah, there's a lot of like, I don't know if this is gonna work or not. I have no idea. But yeah, people have been receiving their pre-ordered albums for the past couple of days, and they're really digging it. And the reception to the first single, "To the Light Guides Me Home," has been really great. So I'm really gratified by that. But there's a whole other aspect, like we were saying, of playing these songs now. Now I gotta get into that place where you can really get inside the songs and do it in a way that feels authentic, and that you just have to get to a place where you're physically capable to do it, because the hand strength required to play an acoustic and the spiritual strength required to serve the songs properly, and do it like with none of the devices that are normally at my disposal, like volume and velocity in a band
Distortion.
Coming at you like that. Yeah, like all that. Yeah. That really kind of rip roaring kind of thing. That I'm more known for. This is more like, no, you gotta relax, and you have to relax in a different way, and if the wave takes you, you got to flow with it in a different way. It's a really interesting situation that I'm facing right now, but I'm looking forward to it.
It's embracing the power of vulnerability.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, are you familiar with Brene Brown? That is kind of self-help writer.
Oh.
She talks about the power of vulnerability.
Yeah, cool.
Like how that's like it's a power source. I mean, kind of when you lay yourself out there, it's like the world will catch you, sort of thing. Or I don't even know if that's right, but
well, I mean, hopefully. That's a hopeful way of looking at it. And, you know, and this record is vulnerable as hell. So, you know, hopefully, catch me, world. Which camera? Catch me. Right there.
We're catching you.
I'm leaning back. Catch me. Yeah.
William DuVall. Any relationship to Robert DuVall?
Not that I know of, but, you know.
Probably in some distant planet.
Yeah. Another generation, another life. Yeah.
And you're from Atlanta, huh?
I'm actually from D.C. originally.
Oh, okay.
All my folks are D.C. people. And then we moved to Atlanta when I was 14.
Right.
So a lot of important coming-of-age stuff happened in Atlanta, but not technically my hometown or place of birth.
For me, too, Atlanta. I moved there after high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I used to work at Clark Music.
I used to go there all the time.
Boom. That was my last real job. Was that
I used to go there all the time.
Yeah.
I probably ran into you many times.
Yeah,
without even knowing it.
I was trying to think if we had run into each other, but when did you move out of there, or are you still there?
Well, I'm there now. I lived in L.A. for 10 years.
Uh-huh.
So from 2000 to 2010, I was in L.A.
Okay, so we definitely ran
across
each other.
Like in the 90s or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I used to go there all the time. 90s. Page.
Page.
Yeah. No, I knew all them cats.
Follow for now.
Oh, David Harris is an old friend.
Shout out David Ryan Harris.
David Ryan Harris, an old friend.
Yeah.
We were 4-track buddies.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out how to use a tape recorder.
That dude is talented.
Oh, he's great, you know? And he's really good at what I'm trying to do right now. Like, he's kind of like veteran, you know, sort of sensei at like solo acoustic performing. He's been doing it for a long time and kind of pursued that path quite a while ago. And now he's got several records out and tours all the time doing it. It's cool, really good.
Did he work in that guitar store too?
No, but he was like in the biggest band in the city, basically, or one of them. I mean, they were like extremely well known.
They were running things for a minute.
Which one?
Then.
Follow for Now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were like one of the local bands that was like gonna make it or making it, you know, like having a record deal and shit like that. That was back then. That was like having a viral video. Is now
right,
or something,
right.
You know, like, yeah. So but what was that first song you played? What was that one called?
That's Till the Light Guides Me Home.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Thank you. That's
very
first
vulnerable.
First single. Yeah, right.
About demons and stuff too.
Yes, indeed. There are quite an assortment.
Assortment of demons.
Yeah.
I got a few myself. They're playing racquetball in my head right now.
You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, you have no idea.
They're serving it up in there. Yeah.
One just won a point.
Yeah, right.
No. Looks like he's gonna win the match. But so, were you exploring? Do you write with Alice in Chains as well? Is it like co-write stuff?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And but with these songs, you just wrote them all on your own?
Yeah. These are mine.
Yeah. Is there an overarching theme to it?
The songs on this album, One Alone, the main sort of the prime directive was just getting a group of songs that would present well in a solo acoustic setting. But once you get past that, I suppose there are some themes that come up throughout, gets back to what we were talking about with vulnerability, because getting to a place where you are willing to ask for what you need, you know, in terms of seeking connection with another person or with the wider world or with your immediate, group of people or family unit or whatever. Being fearless enough to ask for that, and also owning your own mistakes and owning the part of yourself that is your own worst enemy, that keeps you from accessing those things that you're saying you want. So I suppose that kind of thing comes up throughout the record and a lot of the songs. You know, it makes sense because, you know, you do a solo acoustic record, the subject matter of the songs is liable to skew in a more personal and vulnerable direction anyway. So, you know.
Yeah. I want to say why is that, but it's kind of obvious.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not. Some people have done other things with it very, very well, like Dylan and people like that, you know, that wrote protest songs and things like that are fantastic. But I'm taking it in the more, more
personal.
Yeah.
Has there been like it sounds like you've been doing self-work. I mean, all that you just said is like really deep and kind of like hitting me. Like I'm going like, damn, I need to do this too.
I got an assignment now.
I got an assignment from God right now. What? But have you been in like doing therapy and stuff like that?
No, just my own, sort of self-reflection and the things that come to you just through living life and through hitting some of the walls that you hit
over and over and over again.
Yeah, and we're privileged to have a channel to help us with these things. Just the act of being a musician, writing songs, things like that, is a huge help, and it has been for my whole life. And then the privilege of getting to do it for a living and traveling and all that, and then having a family that you are trying to serve these two masters now, whereas before I was all about whatever it takes to do the work. It's all about me, and me, and the work, and pursuing this thing. And I was really relentless. And now it's kind of like I have to still retain that level of relentlessness with the work, the artistic pursuit, but I also I have more people to factor into my scheme of things now. And I think just that right there forced me to kind of come to grips with, all right, there's certain things about yourself that you got to own. There's certain things about yourself you got to correct. And you got to be there and serve the situation, serve your well, in my case, I have a son. I got to serve his needs. I got to, be there and be accessible in a way that that I was never used to being.
Is this recent, the son thing?
No, he's born 10 years ago. He's 10 years old now, and this has just been a 10-year journey of learning how to do that, how to do that right. You got to be there. I mean, because I make the lunches, I do the whole, I'm at every soccer practice and all that stuff when I'm in town, and
right.
I don't usually talk about that very much, but you talk about self-work. That would probably be the self-work.
Right.
That would be the vehicle through which I have done most of my self-work, because that situation forces you, at least in my case, it forced me to come to grips. It's like, whoa, everything's different now. Everything's different now. And if you don't want to make the same mistakes that were made with you in your childhood, you don't want to become something that you despise, then you better get it together, and you better figure this out, and you better do it quick, like now, like yesterday.
Yeah.
And just be there, man. You just got to be there. And so there are times when the artist has had to get thrown in the back seat for a minute. There are times when, I got this riff. I got this riff in my head. And whereas before, I would have all day to just marinate on that riff, go wherever the next guitar is, play it for 3 hours if I feel like it, work out all the parts to the thing, record a version of it, maybe get a full-fledged demo of it, and that's my day. That's my day. Well, now my day might be, okay, we're driving, we're on our way to the store, we got to do this, we got to do that, I got to get you here, I got to get you there, and then I got this riff. Okay, let me just get it in the phone real quick just so I don't forget it. And maybe he's in the back seat, you know what I'm saying? And and like just turn the radio down, get it. Okay, all right. And then we go and do our whole day, which revolves around everything else but me doing what I used to do, which would have been pursuing that idea. Now we do all this other stuff, and then, you know, because when he's with me, that's what it has to be, you know, and you know, so that kind of thing is the work I'm talking about. For me, that's something that I think every artist who is in my situation has, you know, had to deal with, or every working parent, you know, has had to deal with in some way or another. And I don't do the whole thing of sitters and all that stuff. It's
right.
like, nah, man, this is me and you, you know.
Yeah.
This is me and you when we're here, you know. And, you know, if he's playing the video games, maybe I'm working on something in the same room or in the next room, that kind of thing.
Have you noticed it evolving your craft in unusual ways or surprising ways?
I think that a song like Till the Light Guides Me Home would not have been written without having gone through that major life change. Mm-hmm. I don't think it would have been possible to write a tune like that, you know? And
why not?
Just because, again, I think my denial mechanisms were so strong when it was just me. Not even denial, it's more like just the I don't give a flying fuck mechanism was way stronger.
Nihilism.
When it was, well, just me pursuing what I needed and wanted to survive, which was music and the pursuit of all things tethered to that. That was all I did. And I think when you get, and you have to see that in order to come up with that level of drive at something, you have to get good at batting away all the naysayers and things, you know, even people in your own family, like, you know, telling you you're crazy. And,
even
hey, you know, hey,
imagine that.
Okay, when's this now? Okay, it's time to get serious now. Okay, you've been doing this a while now. We got to think about grad school, or we got to think about whatever, you know, practical things that are completely reasonable to worry about and to talk about, but like, you know, I got so, like, from a very early age, I was just very like, no, it's this, and it's nothing but this,
right?
You know, and anything that gets in my way, frozen out, X'd out, and so yeah, I don't think I could have written a tune like Till the Light, because I mean, you know, you can imagine certain things as a writer for sure, and I definitely have done that, but that tune is more out of real life experience of like, okay, yeah, this is exploring how I have tried to serve a situation and failed, and I've got to come to grips with the fact that it has failed, and I'm maybe not the only one at fault here, but it's like, but it's just exploring the situation as a whole and taking a snapshot of it so I can look at the photograph over again instead of that I got this tune, you know.
Right. What are the lines in that song? Or you don't have to say them if that's uncomfortable.
No, just, you know, you people can hear them, you know what I mean? It's like, you know,
okay.
You know, it's just lots of, there's a lot of stuff in there. I mean, you know, the family tree, all that stuff, you know. Yeah. I tried to build upon a dream born in our family tree. Yeah. You know, that kind of thing, but all I did was break it down with my demons and insecurity.
That was the line that hit me.
It's a wicked sorrow that makes a man do the things I've done, and I can't blame you for calling up the strength it took to run, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I love that.
You know,
I like the part, it's a wicked sorrow that makes me do the things I've done.
Yeah, well, you're born with a lot of stuff, or at least a lot of stuff can accumulate very quickly in your early life, you know. There's a lot of, I mean, you know, with a lot of musicians, I'm sure this is the case, but there's a lot of grief that's being processed that happened, you know, decades ago, right? And you're working this stuff out, and your whole life has been this process of working this stuff out. And in the case of, you know, musicians and stuff, it's working it out through the music usually, and you know, just so many things that you're dealing with, and so that's what it is, you know. That stuff turns into a wicked sorrow, and you know, it can be the driving force in your life, you know.
Yeah, if you let it. Fear. That's the demon.
Well, and it's a great motivator too.
That's true.
Tremendous motivator.
Yeah.
Tremendous motivator.
I guess if you keep it in its right place and
that's the thing.
Don't let it overwhelm you.
You have to do that. There's some management that goes on there, and that's not easy. That's not easy.
And the part about a dream born from your family tree,
right?
Is that do you have musicians in your family? Is it?
No, I was just talking about more like, family life, and just the generational continuity of it all, and looking at your history and looking at the things you're proud of and looking at the things you're not so proud of, and trying to improve upon those things and move the ball down the field, move the ball down the field. So, they're just looking, it was looking back and looking forward at the same time.
Right.
And trying to reconcile that with the present moment.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is where I've been. This is where I'd like to go. And, and I've got to chart the course right now and make some changes.
Right on. Yeah, where would you like to go?
Well, I just want the same thing everybody probably wants, just some peace.
Yeah. Peace of mind.
Yeah, and and I want happy, healthy lives for my
abundance
for my boy and all that stuff. I want him to have all the things that I want him to have all the good things I had and all the good things I didn't have.
Nice. Yeah, this life is a trip, man. It baffles me all the time. Like, I would like to have a conversation with whoever's running things about it. Just be like, "What's up, dude? What is this? What in the hell? What? This is crazy."
Yeah.
It just seems to me like one big school or testing ground. Like every day, it's like and that feeling. Sometimes I wake up and I feel like, oh no, I'm behind, or I'm not doing my best, or I'm not living up to my potential. And that, that sends a shockwave through me when I feel like that.
Sure. Well, and the good thing is though, it's not too late.
Right. You can always turn the bus around.
Yeah, man. Or press the accelerator or whatever you got to do, change the gear.
Change the gear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got a philosophy degree, huh?
Yeah.
What motivated that?
Well,
At Georgia State?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It was just my folks really, really wanted me to go to college, and especially my grandmother both my grandmothers very much wanted it. But with my grandmother on my father's side, it was a particularly strong desire because neither of her sons went to college. My father and my uncle, they didn't go, and I think she just wanted to have somebody in the family with some sort of piece of paper, and it was such an aspirational thing for people of her generation, and so I just didn't want to let her down. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to do it, then let's try to do it in something that I could be remotely interested in, because I just can't focus on something that I'm not interested in, and I was never good at that in school. And so I thought, well, maybe if I do this, I might show up to class, and there's a chance that I could actually walk away with the piece of paper that she wants. And I did, and first thing I gave it to her.
I was like, here, I did this for you. Now I'm gonna go live my dream.
And she put it on the wall, and it was cool. It was really nice, But yeah, that was why, because I just wanted something that I could have a shot at being interested and engaged enough to show up.
Why didn't you go into music school or something like that then?
Because it just would have been the worst thing. Because I'm not a schooled musician, and I hate school, and I didn't want music to be associated with school in any way.
Right.
And what I do with the guitar, and what I've always done with the guitar and all that stuff, has been my freedom, and I didn't want anything to encroach on that, and I didn't want some instructor telling me how I should do this or that and the other.
Yeah.
That would have been the worst thing for me. And so I thought, well, at least with something like philosophy, I can get to, the larger questions that just sort of inhabit existence in general, and I can just sort of, like, maybe it might perhaps like fire my imagination in a way that could help the music, but it wouldn't detract from the music,
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite philosopher? Did you?
I don't have it.
Nothing like
All that stuff went in and out, man.
Is it really?
No, for the most part. I mean, look,
Kierkegaard or anything?
No, I never glommed on to, like, Descartes. That's my man. I never glommed on to somebody and was like, yes,
Yeah.
No, it was more. I mean, I did most of the most. as with a lot of people, my most valuable learning happened outside the classroom. But I will say that one thing that was cool was toward the end of pursuing that degree, I took a class. I started skewing the specialization toward religion and spiritual practice, and so I had some classes toward the end of my tenure in college that were really, really cool, and this one class in particular that. The class was called Women in Religion, but it explored a whole lot of things that fell both within and outside of that. And one of the things that was cool was it got into like a lot of the pre-Christian cultures. So that was really nice because I had been interested in that for a while anyway, and this was a form in class, like, to explore that and get credit for it. So, like, one of my senior projects was I took it upon myself to go to New Orleans and interview some of the Voodoo kings and queens, and
that's fun.
That kind of stuff. And it was that was rewarding because I would have done that anyway. Right.
I think I did do that too. Yeah, I used to live in New Orleans for a second.
It's an amazing city, and it has, like, some of the most amazing American stories, to tell. And so I went there, and it was cool to do it for, like I said, for college credit. Yeah. For, like, a paper that I was going to get graded on and stuff.
To go party in New Orleans?
Well, because I could go. Well, I mean, I could go, and it could be like, well, this is good for the paper. I have to do it. Yeah. So, but it was great. It was really good.
What does an interview with a voodoo person sound like?
They were really great. I mean, the thing is, they don't let outsiders in. And so I knew that it was going to be a matter of earning their trust, among other things. And I'm not sure I ever completely did, but I mean, I did to an extent. And to the extent that I did, I'm honored that I did. But it was really nice to talk to those folks. And even if it was a little bit of a dog and pony show they were giving me, it was still cooler than most dog and pony shows, for sure. Yeah. And there was a guy down there named Joshua that I remember in particular. He was this really, really old man. He was called Joshua Voodoo King, and he was super cool. The thing about voodoo is that the queens actually have most of the power. The kings are more, figureheady kind of folks. And so, but Joshua was really great, and I got to know him better than anybody I talked to down there. And at one point, after one of our hangs, I was walking down the street, and I just left him. And so I'm walking down the street, and all of a sudden I'm getting ready to cross, and I see him across the street. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, that's
bizarre.
Bizarre. Okay. And so I walk by him. He doesn't even acknowledge that it's happening. Like, I'm sort of looking at him, and he's sort of looking at me, and I just go by him. So I get to the next corner a good ways away. He's across the street again.
No.
I'm serious.
Come on, the first time I could say you were hallucinating.
No, dude. I mean,
the second time, it's
dude,
like,
I don't know what was going on, but I'm just telling you. I'm telling you what I saw, and I was like,
I believe you.
I was like, okay. All right, I'm not even gonna dig into this because I might not like what I find. So I'm just gonna let it go, man.
Wow.
I let it go. I just let it go.
I would be like, Joshua, what's up?
It was the last time I saw him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was his way of saying goodbye.
I guess so. I don't know. It was just a strange experience.
Wow, that is really
completely in keeping with everything that I was dealing with right then, you know.
Oh, really? Like
yeah,
what?
Just exploring that whole culture and everything. You know, just digging, like trying to get those folks to trust me enough to talk about what it is,
how they practice,
and just what the meanings of things are, and you know, that whole thing is born out of a lot of terror and a lot of just self-preservation.
Voodoo?
You know, just in America now. In Africa, it just came organically, you know, as a way of just sort of organizing why you're here. And like most religions and spiritual practices, it's just a matter of, this is how we are going to try to answer some really huge unanswerable questions, and this is how we're going to try to organize our society and give it a hierarchy and all that. But in America, it was more about something was being taken away from these people. Their fundamental culture was being taken away, and this is a way of preserving it and doing it in a way that was subversive. So they incorporated a lot of the Catholic icons and things like that in order to do things sort of somewhat hiding in plain sight, you know.
That's wild. So, because I think of voodoo as like, you know, I think of the voodoo doll and pins and the thing, but there's obviously more to it.
Way more. It's probably the oldest spiritual practice that there is.
Mm-hmm. What is voodoo then? Like what? I mean,
again, it's just a way of at that time in the origins, I can only guess that it was a way of organizing their society, but moreover, it was a way of harnessing power.
Yeah. Spiritual power.
Yeah.
But is it black magic or is it?
See, I think we put all that stuff on it because that's our hang up, you know. I don't
well,
even
I'm just
know.
curious. I'm actually not putting that on it. I'm really just asking.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like,
I mean, when you say black magic, it's sort of like, well, yeah, black because they were black people.
No, I don't mean race-wise.
No, I know you don't. But I'm just saying, like, but that term, it's sort of like, oh, black magic, evil, black, evil.
That's Hollywood.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, I know you weren't. But I'm just saying, like, but I'm saying, like, the history of terms like that.
I guess what I'm trying
come from that place.
Yeah, I hear you, but I'm trying to ask like, is it dark or is it up?
It's light and dark. It's everything.
It is light.
It's everything.
Because it has this, at least in my head, it has like kind of a dark spin to it.
It's like nature. It's everything.
But it's everything.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's everything. So light and dark, and it encompasses all things because that's what they had to do.
Yeah.
That's what they had to do.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you have like your own spiritual practices? Are you like a religious person, a believer or non-believer?
No, I'm fascinated with a lot of the rituals, but I'm more like any rituals I have, it's just more just trying to get through the fucking day, man. Like,
Word.
You know what I mean?
But that is like, what that's for.
I know, but I mean, you know, but I don't have like an organized thing like, oh, I go to this church,
yoga,
or I do this, or I do
that.
Well, you know, yeah, sure, breathing and, you know, stretching, things like
meditation.
That. In a sense, yes. Yeah. I wish I was better at that.
Well, everybody does, dude.
That's like good to hear.
Yeah, even
it's good to hear.
You know, I'm gonna butcher her name, but Pena Chodron or something like this. You know, heavyweight Buddhist teacher. She talks about how when she meditates, and she's like a master apparently, and she's like, you know, half the time my mind is going. You know.
Yeah, man. I mean,
so
it's no joke. I mean, like I went.
Turn his up a little bit.
I've been to a few ashrams before, and I went to this one, and it was amazing because I would just watch these people, man, like these ladies and these gentlemen, just like they could just sit down wherever they were, man, just sit down and just leave. It was like, wow, you guys talk about goals, man. Like you guys, like, I mean, it could be anything going on around him, you know, like the ashram was full of people, it was kids, it was everybody, you know, dogs and things. And they could just sit right in the middle of be like sitting in the middle of the street here in New York and just sort of like, I'm just going to sit on this curb and I'm just going to, and they would just sit down and peacefully just, I was like, whoa.
What's wild about that is they're leaving by arriving. Because you know, you go to the pinpoint of this moment, and if you are really here and now, like currently here now, without the past and the past and the future, then you're arriving, but you're escaping because you're not. You know, it's all the past and the present and the thoughts that torment us. The moment is always pretty awesome, or is awesome,
Right.
It actually just is awesome. Like being a point of consciousness in the here and now.
And it's just a choice for you to acknowledge that or not.
And it's a practice of doing that over and over again, like going to the gym and seeing how many pull-ups you can do. Right. You know.
Yeah. And things like that, I suppose I'm whittling away at learning to get better at that sort of thing.
Yeah. Were you raised with any religion?
Yeah, my folks are Episcopalian, so we were like Catholic light. You know what I mean? You could show up and it wouldn't be quite as uptight, you know, and like you could show up and they'd be doing it's a lot of the same kinds of pomp and circumstance with the robes and the whole thing, and the music is more sort of somber and severe, you know. It's not like the Southern Baptist thing, you know, particularly with Black people, where it's just like it's all really like
intense.
It's incredibly like there's a celebratory thing, and there's a letting go, because you know, we're just gonna come in here and we're gonna let all our troubles go, and it's not like that. It's way more, you know,
prim and proper.
It's just but not quite as uptight as the Catholic thing. The Catholic thing is they take it to 11. The Episcopalian thing is more like 7.
Oh yeah.
You know, so it's the robes and everything, but maybe they'll do like a folk song.
Right, they're a little more laid back about it.
A little bit, you know, a little bit. Yeah. It's cool.
But none of that's hung on for you, or
I still dig it, you know, in terms of like I mean, look, it's your childhood, so you always cling to certain memories. And whenever I go to the church in D.C. that is the sort of the family church, it's always a nice thing, in a way. So many things have happened there, you know, over the years, and we just had my grandmother's funeral service there a year or two ago, and she lived to be 105. She had a long run, and
that really bodes well for you, my friend.
Great, she had a great run. I mean, if I could do
105, that's wild.
If I could do what she did with the level of peace and serenity with which she did it, that would be an amazing thing. But yeah, I mean, and you know, weddings, and there's so many memories that go back through that church, and so it's always a nice thing.
What was her secret, man? Give us the secret.
I wish I knew, and I don't know if she knew. She was more surprised than anybody that she lived that long. She couldn't believe it. She just would always remark on it, like, I never thought I would get here.
Right.
But no, she was great. I think certainly part of her amazingness was she was just a extremely loving person, and so that was certainly part of it. I think is just that she engendered so much positivity.
Yeah.
And that had to have played a role.
Definitely. Gratitude too, probably.
Yeah, you know, I mean, that's the kind of thing I try to practice more in my daily life, especially, like I said, with my boy, you know, delicate situations and things like that, you know. But then there's the severe sort of male energy, the dad energy that comes out, and I'm always reconciling that. But she's my model for the other way to be. So I really try to always skew it towards her, because that way it'll probably balance out okay in the end, you know.
That's interesting. She's the yin to your yang.
Yeah, totally.
What did your parents do?
Oh, you know, my mom, she was a school teacher in D.C., and then she left that behind because the DC public school system in the 60s and 70s started going completely to hell, and so she saw the writing on the wall and saw that there was only going to be so much she could do. She was always helping kids and doing things above and beyond and bringing kids home and all that kind of stuff. And then she just saw, it's like, this is just overwhelming. That the system is not letting us do right by these kids, and it's not doing right by these kids. So, and then of course, you know, the pay was horrendous. And so she went to law school and became a lawyer, and mostly was trying to serve people, you know, family law, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like not the fast track to the money train or anything like that. You know, it's more like, I just want to help people, and then well, my dad, that's a whole other story. But but she remarried, and my stepfather was in the FDA, and that's why we moved to Atlanta.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
This is gonna sound like a stupid question, but what's the FDA?
Well, Food and Drug Administration.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know why my brain wouldn't. I knew what it was, but it was one of
yeah.
those things like, how do you spell the word cat? You know, like
cool.
when that happens.
No,
like,
he was in the FDA, and he was, you know, so he got a promotion, and that's why we moved to Atlanta.
oh, okay. Were they located in Atlanta or something? Or?
They were nationwide, but he got promoted to like district director, so it was the Southeast region, and the main office was Atlanta.
That's cool. I lived in Little 5 Points.
Oh, me too.
Alta Avenue.
Oh, Alta. Okay,
you remember
cool.
Alta?
Yeah,
right
of
off
course.
of Euclid.
Oh my God, yes, of course.
Fucking
yeah.
Euclid Tavern. The Point.
Dude,
Did you play The Point?
All the time.
Dude, I played The Point.
I had a group called No Walls.
Yeah, I remember No Walls. I think
That was my band.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
That was my band. We played The Point all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all were pretty big, right? You guys.
Well, I wouldn't say big. We were definitely, what we got classified as is ahead of our time.
Right.
That was our thing, you know.
The kiss of death.
Yeah, no, right. And I wasn't trying to be ahead of anything. I was just trying to get my thing on. But like we were doing, you know, kind of this mixture of rock and jazz and world music.
Mm-hmm.
It was myself on guitar and singing. It was a trio, me on guitar and singing, and then these two jazz musicians that I hooked up with that were amazing on bass and drums. And
who were they?
So,
what are their names?
Hank Schroy was on bass and Matthew Calley was on drums. And so it was just like an amazing thing, because I had like Jaco Pastorius and Elvin Jones, like a white Elvin Jones playing with me.
Unreal.
And it was exactly what I wanted, and I couldn't believe I actually found it.
Mm-hmm.
And in Atlanta in like 1988. That was unbelievable to find that. And they were both at Georgia Tech, and Matt was in the jazz band, and Hank was just, you know, studying engineering, but just also on his own time studying how to be the next like Pastorius meets Mingus. And it was fortune upon fortune. So we had this thing, and we were mixing all that music up, and the songs I was writing at that time were more like Joni Mitchell would have written on Hajura or something like that. It was more like, this has no chorus, I'm just gonna explore some ideas here, and it's going to be really strong musically. But now I was under the delusion that it was actually very commercial, what we were doing.
Yeah.
And so
I've been under delusions like that.
You know what
too.
I mean? So the world, I was like, hey man, next year at the Video Music Awards, I'll be duetting with Edie Brickell. It'll be awesome. You know what I mean? Like, completely off my rocker. But we were doing this thing, and what was interesting is like Jeff Buckley came along a few years later and doing his version of kind of a similar thing to what we were doing, and at least he was able to get further than we did in terms of like, he got a pretty big deal from Sony, and he was able to really tour and put a band together and do all that stuff, and I thought he was great, you know. But like, it was, and he played The Point with his band.
Yeah.
The first time I saw him was at Eddie's Attic in Decatur. You remember that place?
Oh yeah, I've played there recently. I mean, in the last few years.
So he came to Eddie's Attic by himself. They had him Columbia had him on a promotional tour.
Right.
And there was about 5 people in the audience, one of whom I brought with me. And that was the first time seeing him. Then the next night he played on Trinity Avenue downtown somewhere. Went to saw that. There was a few more people there. And then like a year or so later, he came back with the band, and they played The Point, which was sort of our house, kind of, you know, so to speak. And for a while, I lived right behind The Point in Yeah, right there on what is it? Not McClendon.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, actually, I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and Fellini's Pizza was right there.
I lived right in those Connie Rose apartments, right behind, like in the cul-de-sac and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I lived
I know
right
exactly
there.
where that is.
I lived right there.
Yeah, yeah. I tell this story like I remember when Sean from Cat Power worked at Fellini's Pizza.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
and before she played her first gig.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. A lot of folks came
I used
out
to
of
work
that
at
town.
Homage too, like for a minute.
Oh,
like,
Homage Cafe?
Remember Homage Cafe like took over that place right across the street from, or right across the, whatever you call it, because it's not a street, but
Right.
you know.
The thoroughfare.
Yeah. I used to cook there.
Cool, man.
Homage, yeah.
Right on.
And then I got a job at Clark Music. Yeah.
There it is, man. It's a small world.
It is, man. It really is. That's interesting as hell, dude. So, yeah. So then what happened after No Walls disbanded? Like, how did Alice in Chains come about? I guess we could fast forward to that.
Yeah. Well, that was just that was because my band Comes with the Fall moved from Atlanta to L.A. in the year 2000.
So you start this band Comes with the Fall in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And then
recorded our first album in Atlanta.
Where'd you record? Jeff Bakos?
I love Bakos, and
Right.
I have made many records with Jeff Bakos, including
That's so funny, dude.
including the vast majority of the One Alone album was recorded with Jeff Bakos.
But, I love Jeff Bakos too. What an interesting cat. Right?
He really is.
Like he's an interesting character.
Very much so.
For everyone who doesn't know who he is, he had an amp repair shop right next to Clark Music.
Yes.
And in there was a recording studio.
Yes.
And it was like the kind of one where everybody went into and recorded. I think they had a cassette too or something.
What's
like,
crazy, what's interesting is I didn't know. I used to go get my amps fixed by him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know. For years, I didn't know he had a recording studio there. Did not know at all.
It doubled as a recording studio.
I did not know. I would always go into the amp repair part.
Mm-hmm.
Never knew all the other stuff going on back there and behind the scenes. And
Allow me to show you in this room.
So I'm looking to make a long story short. I found out some years into Comes with the Falls history, and we ended up making. Beyond our third full-length studio album and an EP at that studio when he had it on Ponce, and it was one of the most incredible experiences recording ever. Like a lot of really amazing magic happened in that studio.
That's true.
But I did not know until then, and I'm so glad I found out. And the One Alone album, again, the bulk of that album was recorded there as well in that same building. Now he's moved. He's in.
Are you serious?
Now.
The new album?
Yeah.
Recorded with Bakos?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not. Yeah.
Dude, that's insane.
Yeah.
So he will see this podcast probably.
I hope so.
Jeff.
No,
I love
great.
you, miss you.
Yeah. No,
That's wild.
No, he's great. And
man,
there's so many things.
What's his studio like now?
Well, now he's moved to Little 5 Point, so it's a different building, different neighborhood, whole different setup. But you know, I mean, mostly it's down to him. It's down to his whole way of being, and
kind of was when I recorded there anyway.
You know,
like
for sure.
Yeah.
But the Ponce building had so much magic to it. There's something about that location and the shape of that room that I really love. Now it's a freaking AT&T store. They just it's like oh no, but yeah,
doesn't have the same.
I so wish that I just wish that like that was one of those things. Like if I'd had the dough, I would just been like, because when he had to move, it was because they raised his rent and they were trying to get everybody out. And that was
You'd think Little 5 Points would be more. Ponce.
Little 5 Points was that's a cool room too, but there's something about the shape of the room in that building, and there's something about that
AT&T hangover.
There's something about that neighborhood too, and the fact that you just had like so many things for 100 years or more that have transpired right in stone's throw away from there. You know, like like a lot of the like a guy like Blind Willie Johnson would be playing right on the corner a couple blocks away or whatever, and for spare change, and you've got like streetwalkers and everything, and occasionally you'd hear an argument taking place between
Dude,
some folks in the demi-monde as you're trying to get a track. You're getting a vocal track, and it's like, wait a minute, I'm picking something up, and it's somebody screaming at somebody outside the door.
Yeah, well, the manager at Clark when I worked there, he used to do this joke, like where you'd be outside smoking, like, and there would be streetwalkers going by. Then he would open the door real quickly and just go, "Hey!" and then close the door, and it looked like you shouted at them, and you were just there going like,
"Oh God,
so that,
horrible!"
Yeah, it was
horrible.
Like, yeah. That was
great way to get into a situation that you might not be able to get out of.
Right.
That's terrible.
Those kind of shenanigans.
Oh
all the
my
time.
God. Well, but so to get back to the thing, Comes to the Fall first formed in late '99.
Okay.
And it was a period where I had a little bit of growing pains in terms of like where I wanted to go as an artist and how to reconcile that with the music industry at large, like I'd had some artistic success, you know what I mean, going back to the punk rock days, like first generation hardcore, like Neon Christ, all that stuff.
Neon Christ.
Like, that was all good. No Walls was great, you know. I mean, there were things that I could be proud of as a musician, but nothing that was like, you know, I could make a living off this. Nothing like, you know, for instance, we were talking about Falling for Now, like nothing like that, where major labels are coming and whining and dining us. We were too weird. Like Vernon Reid brought No Walls to New York a couple different times, took us around everywhere, and this is when Living Colour was one of the biggest things going, and couldn't get it was crickets. We'd play everywhere around here, man, like everywhere. We played everywhere, and we'd try to have all these industry people come down. They'd all come down and just be like, okay.
Why'd you call us?
You know what I mean? Like, it was the same cats working the Warrant record, you know, and this is pre-grunge, man. This is even like all that stuff.
80-something?
This is like 1990.
Oh, that's like, so funny.
You know? And so we were ahead of the curve. Like I said, a couple years later, Buckley would come along and do okay. But so I'd had all these experiences like that. And between that and, as we were also talking about earlier, just adulthood encroaching, you know, and the family saying, okay, now don't you think it's about time? It's been really nice, and we've put up with a lot.
Congratulations.
We've put up with a lot. So I was at this place where I was like, oh God, oh no, you know. And so right around then, after No Walls broke up in '92, it started hitting sort of a tipping point of like, this is really getting heavy. Like,
how old were you?
I was, you know, getting like 25.
You're so young still.
That age where you're, but at that point it felt like, oh God, I've missed the boat, and oh no, and
I had that
I'm
same
dead,
thing.
and
I had that same thing.
And my folks are all just like, you know, you're the family joke for like 10 years, you know, since you were like 15, you've been the family joke. Like, oh, is he still playing music? You know what I mean? Like cousins and shit asking, and you miss family gatherings, like, you know, oh, he's playing a show in Knoxville. Oh, he's playing a show. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
And I was like, all right, okay, all right, I'm going to show you fuckers, all right. And so right around that time, David Harris called me, and he was like, okay, I'm working with this gal who just left Arrested Development, this singer, Dionne. She's trying to do something on her own, and, you know, and we're going to try to see if we can get it happening. So... And those are his exact words, by the way, because that's what he talks like. Not at all. He doesn't talk like that at all. But yeah, it was Dionne Farris. And so he called me up. He's like, she said she wanted to work with me, is what he said. He said, she wants to work with me. And I said, well, if I want to work with you, I want to do this with my favorite writer, William DuVall. And so he called me up. It was really great. And because I was at that point, I was feeling like, oh God, maybe I am nuts, you know, like Jesus Christ. So...
I'm at that point again, basically, too, by the way. Like, I go back to that point sometimes.
There are these moments of reckoning, right? You know, and you just have to push through them because I swear that the next thing is coming, believe me, because in my case, it was like he called up out of the blue like that with this thing, and there was this other cat, Milton Davis, and the three of us got together and we were going to try to do like a Holland Dozier Holland kind of thing where we were going to try to, you know, a songwriting collective, and we were gonna, you know, just write tunes and give them to people. And so, but Dionne was the one that was right there at the time, and so we started churning these things out, and I was ready for a big change because, again, I had been in artiste land for a long time. That was my whole period as a musician pretty much was doing stuff that people either hated or, you know, like the authorities thought should be stamped out, like with hardcore,
or
you know?
ignored.
Or it was just like, this is just too crazy, you know? And you know, critics liked it or musicians liked it, but not anybody else. And so I was in this place where I was ready for something really different, and this was really different. So we started churning out tunes for Dionne, and somehow in the mix of all that, Milton and I came up with this tune, I Know.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he'd had the bulk of it, or the seed of it, the main drum of it, and we finished it together, and we recorded it on David Harris's 4-track.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing, this girl signed to Columbia Records, right in the same promotional push as Buckley is getting, like in that same cycle of new artists, like Columbia's trying to make the thing. And I Know is the first single, and it went huge.
Right.
And so all of a sudden, I went from, okay now, you know, to I had the biggest record in the fucking country.
Right.
It was everywhere. Like, you couldn't escape it.
I remember.
She was everywhere. The record was everywhere. The song was everywhere.
I had that single.
You know what I mean? And it was like, and it was, so I was like, and my father died right around that time, which was also a heavy thing too. And he died with a lot of regret and sort of feelings of failure and things like that. Actually, he died right before the onslaught of Dionne, so I wish he had lived to see it, but maybe it's meant to be that he didn't. But it was one of those motivating things, like you talk about fear being a motivator and all that stuff. It was like I went to his grave, put him in the ground. It was raining in Washington, D.C. He got buried with the military honors and all that because he was a soldier and never quite recovered from any of that stuff. And it was like, I'm going to move the ball forward. I resolved right then and there. This is it. I'm gonna show all these motherfuckers somehow, some way. I don't care what the fuck it takes. This is gonna happen. A lot of things are gonna happen, but it starts now. And within a year or two, it was just like, boom. You know, she's on Saturday Night Live. She's on David Letterman. She's everywhere. And so I was like, okay, cool. This is good. This is buying me some time at least.
Right.
But I didn't want to take it to like, you know, because people were telling me, oh, you could just, you know, this could be your.
You could be a writer.
Thing, yeah, you know, and you could go and network and do all, you know. I was like, nah, you know, like I went to the ASCAP Pop Awards and things like that and saw what that could look like, you know, just saw like what that networking scene, the writer scene could look like. And I was like, yeah, no, this ain't it, man. So what I did was I learned how to make the records I wanted to hear. So I kind of started this group Madfly, and there was a studio right across from our apartment that Clay Harper owned called Casino. It was right there. The guy who ran Fellini's Pizza. And he had a little 16-track studio right across the parking lot from my place. So I was like, this is perfect. That's going to be where I learned how to make records. And I learned with Madfly how to make the records I wanted to hear. And then the songs were strong, but the whole thing was not right. I was coming from a place of insecurity, and I was like, I can't come from that place and do music. I can do music that sounds good and music that might find some success, but if it does, I'm screwed because it will not be the authentic me. It will not be that. I can't come from a place of insecurity to where I am now. So I need to figure this out. Madfly was me figuring it out, and then.
Did you know Brian King?
Not offhand.
Okay, he was in that general area.
He may have. I mean, he may have. Even been, it might be one of those names that has evaporated over time, and if so, I'm sorry, but
that's all right.
But like, the whole thing for me was get back to the place where you are doing stuff that, like, you just know, and so
how did
the transition.
How did you do that?
Well. Working it out, making 2 records with Madfly, going through a bunch of changes with that. You know, we had management. We had somebody like, it was a radio promo guy managing us, and got some songs on the radio. All this stuff that was just like, oh, this could bode well. Made a deal with Joan Jett's label Blackheart to distribute our record and all this stuff. Because I was even back then, I was like, I want to own the master. I want to start the label and all that. So that was the label. The beginnings of the label was with the second Madfly album and doing the thing with Joan Jett to distribute. But after that came out, I knew this had to evolve, and there's more there. So Madfly essentially turned into Comes with the Fall.
Okay.
We changed bass players, and I was sitting in that apartment in Little 5 Points like, what does the truth really sound like to me right now? And the truth is not Madfly, it's not. And so found the truth, wrote these tunes in that apartment, we recorded them. I was like, this is something else. Like, it has to be called something else. And so it was Comes with the Fall. And that record, we took that to LA, and we arrived Valentine's Day 2000. And one of the first people we met was Cantrell, because a mutual friend turned him on to that record. I was like, you have to listen to this. You have to. Finally, when he did, it was just like, all right, goddamn. Like, he said he had like a couple of things like that where it was like he just didn't want to listen. And then he did, and it was just a revelation. He was like, Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction and our record were two records where that happened.
That's
wild.
So
he met me
like,
at the...
But the thing you said about, like, what does the truth sound like now?
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, that was the question at the time. And I knew that Madfly had good tunes,
right?
But that was the extent of it, and that's not enough.
Yeah.
And
you got it on this one.
Oh yeah, Comes with the Fall was me falling in love with music again.
Wow.
And it was like, I'm ready to die on this hill. If nobody understands this, or if it gets the whole ahead of your time, or if it gets whatever it gets, I'm fine. Like if I'm really ready to go down with this shit.
What about it was like that?
It's the whole thing. It was like, sometimes things line up, where you access the part of yourself that can tell the truth as unfiltered as it can be. And also I had the sonics down. I knew how to make the record sound like I wanted it to sound. So It was just going in with a whole vision and realizing it, like, and coming out with it like, yep, there we go. And so we went to LA like that, and we hit the ground running. We played everywhere in Hollywood, and Cantrell started playing with us. He would hang out with us all the time, and he would come to our apartment all the time. We were all living together in this 2-bedroom apartment in West Hollywood, and he was there every day. And like, he would, so he asked me to teach him how to play a couple of our songs off that record. And then he was playing those 2 songs with us every time we played in Hollywood. He would show up. And you'd see him like right before, like sometimes we wouldn't even know what time we were playing. You know how it is in those clubs, it's like, 5 bands playing, you don't know what time. Yeah. I swear, every time we were getting ready to hit the stage,
he was there.
He would be pacing back and forth, and he'd get on stage at the end of the set and play the 2 songs with us. People thought he was joining our band.
What were you an Alice in Chains fan at all?
Yeah, sure. I had those records like everybody. Yeah. I mean,
But were you asking yourself, like, why is this guy hanging out so
No,
much?
I knew why, because it was fucking badass.
Oh, because you had hit it.
Oh my God, I knew, like, when you know. Like, we hit the ground hard there. We were like, we ate every band for fucking breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Wow.
No hesitation saying that, none.
Wow.
And the thing is, most of the bands there were projects, and they were playing showcases.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know anything about that. I don't play fucking showcases. This isn't a project. This is a band.
Mm-hmm.
We're a family. This is what we do. We play gigs.
Did you put that record out, the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah. How did it do?
It was mostly like we sold out once we started touring, you know what I mean? But like, it was mostly about this exists. Yeah. Like, put it out like the way I'm putting the One Alone album out, that didn't exist yet.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? There were no like distribution channels or anything.
Did you get a deal for it?
No. No, because as usual, we would go to these meetings, we'd be playing somewhere and somebody, oh, so-and-so from Capitol wants to talk to you, or so-and-so. We'd go, and it would just be a fucking joke, man.
Yeah.
I was not prepared to debate what my band was going to do or how I was going to do it. I just was not hearing it. I was not having it. So I knew what the score was. I saw all these bands. They were there, their projects, playing showcases. Well, some of them got signed. And you know what? Maybe 5% of those got to put out records. None of them made it. None. So it was like, I'm not going to sit here and go through this whole freaking charade. I'm not going to do it.
Right.
I know what we are. I know what we have, and I will figure this out. And if it means we never get the brass ring or whatever, well, then so be it. Like I said, I'm prepared to die on this hill. This is it. So we did that first record, and then Cantrell at the same time was finishing up his solo record, Degradation Trip. And so, you know, we were really getting to know each other around the finishing of that record. So we were hearing those songs all the time.
How long had you been friends at that point?
I don't know. This all happened within a few months, a year.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you know what I mean? Like, I mean, the whole thing happened really quickly once it happened. But like,
Right.
we were listening to that record while we were listening to our record, and while I was writing tunes that would end up on the second Comes with Fall record, The Year Is One, while he was listening to final mixes of Degradation Trip and trying to find somebody to put it out. And he at first couldn't find anybody that would put it out. And so once 2001 hit, he wanted to go and play some shows. And I think he really missed having a band,
Right.
you know what I mean? And that whole All for One thing that we had. And so, and Robert Trujillo and Mike Borden, who had played on Degradation Trip, they weren't available because they were with Ozzy Osbourne at the time, and Robert soon would get asked to join Metallica. So it was, they weren't available to really tour, and there was no money. He was just going to tour out of his pocket, basically. And so it was a ready-made situation because we were there. We're like this fully fledged band, just killing everything in our path, and real hungry and real just like, you know, give me the bone. I'm gonna shred the fucking bone. And like, so he was like, you guys wanna go out? And we're like, fuck yeah, you know. So we ended up doing double duty with him, like
being
we'd
his
come
band
out,
and
we'd do the whole thing. And so it was cool, you know. And like I said, I finished up the tunes that would become the second record on a break from touring, went in for 3 days, recorded all those, put it out later that year. You know what I mean? It was like that. And then it was like, okay, we're still touring. It's 2002. We're still on the road. Don't quite have enough time to go in and, you know, do a proper studio record. Let's just do a live record. While we're at it, let's just do a live DVD. And let's make it 5.1 surround sound and triple the budget and put myself so deep in the red I'll never get out. And like, that's what we did. So we did this succession of work in a couple years that was really like, yeah, it was pretty badass. And
developed a friendship.
no, yeah, well,
Or a
I'm talking about
partnership.
I'm talking about my band, but yes, in the course of that, definitely developed a friendship with Cantrell as well, because we were, you know, you're living right on top of each other for years at a time on the road in a bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And then, but when you officially joined Alice, that was something happened with like a sound check on Ann Wilson or something like that?
Oh yeah, well the first thing,
is that
the first
a true story?
Yeah, no, that's a true story. The first thing we did was a VH1 Decades Rock Live
Right.
TV special, and Hart was being honored.
Okay.
So the Wilson sisters were being honored for their career, and they wanted some special guests to be a part of that, and so they invited Alice, and at that time it was such a newly reconstituted thing, like it just happened, and so we all went, you know, but it was kind of this thing of even the Alice portion of the program was going to be a little bit of an all-star thing, and so Phil Anselmo came and sang some stuff, and then I sang some stuff, and it was like that was going to be the program, and we weren't sure what was going to end up in the television show once it was all edited down. So we did this whole show, and so it's on television. It's in an arena full of people in New Jersey. It was, you know, pretty high pressure, intense kind of thing. And during the camera blocking rehearsal, the big talk of the town was Ann Wilson was going to sing Rooster, and it was just, I guess, a tune she had done with them on stage before and all that stuff. So that was like one of the big things, but she didn't come to the camera blocking. So I was there on the set, and they were just like, would you sing it? And so in the middle of me doing it, Ann and Nancy show up, and they're like watching the wings, and afterward Ann was just like, you got to do that song. You got to do it. You got to do it. I was like, oh, this is your big showcase. It's your big, no, you got to do it. So it was great because it was a very, that ensured I was going to be in the program, and that ensured that the newly reconstituted Alice in Chains was going to get like this sort of proper intro to the world, you know, like in 2006, and it was great. It was really great.
Is that when Jerry decided to have you be in the band, or
no? It was decided before that. We already had shows booked and things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We already had shows booked. This was just like the first thing, and then we did some club dates, and then next thing you know, I'm on stage in Portugal in front of 30,000 people. It was nuts.
And how? What's that experience like, going through all that you've gone through, and to like be, in this situation?
It was sink or swim for sure. It was very much like. It was very much like, well, this is not how you expected it to get served up, but here is the dish, and you know what I mean? Like it's like
not quite what I ordered, but it's pretty like, fucking cool.
It's like, make it happen. Become the person that you wanted to see. Become the person that you wanted to see, and just be that.
Yeah.
And do it right now, because you got 30,000 motherfuckers in Portugal bouncing up and down because you started jumping up and down. So now you just have to be it. You got to be the thing. And I had not been used to working a stage with just a microphone or any of that. I was always more of a musician guy. And this was like, no, you got to be like a front man.
That's a form of voodoo. Just to bring it all back around.
No, it is.
You know what I mean?
Oh, it very much is.
When you like jumping up and down and the other people, it's like it is kind of voodoo-esque.
There have been countless moments over the last 13 years now. So many that I couldn't even begin to remember all of them, or even a fraction of them. But I remember that one just because it was one of the first ones. And it was just like such a vivid moment of like, this is now in your hands. Now it's up to you what you do with this. And you can't show any kind of fear or trepidation or anything like that, because, well, one, that's just wasting everybody's time, and two, that's what too many people want to see, and I'm not going to give them the satisfaction, and and it's just like, so it became this whole kind of, the style of working on stage in that situation came out of just
doing it.
Yeah, and it came out of just the thing of like, you got to confront thousands of people with a certain stance, and it has to be very much like, this is what it is. This is a new sheriff in town, take it or walk away. But you're not, there's so much noise around that time that it easily could have run a motherfucker off their own stage. But I was never going to let that happen.
Was there a lot of resistance and stuff like that?
Oh, my God. I mean...
was it crazy?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Bananas. But, I mean, but whatever. It's fine. It worked out. And it worked out because we made it work out.
What was the most bananas form of resistance?
I don't know, man.
You don't want to go there.
No, it's just... You get everything. You get every kind of threat. You get every kind of everything.
Threats,
you get everything. You get everything.
That's wild.
And it's just like, whatever, man.
Yeah. It seems like embraced though. Like you've been embraced.
No, look,
you're
our numbers speak for themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, and the numbers speak for themselves all the way around. So the box office, the dough, the whole thing, and that did not happen by chance.
Right.
The promoters were one step away from laughing at us at first in 2006. Really? Oh, yeah. The guarantees were very much like, yeah, whatever. And it was very much like, okay, once again, got to show these fuckers, man.
Yeah.
You gotta.
And now you're in a similar situation now with this whole new solo acoustic.
Yeah.
It's like a whole different way of going about
a
different stance.
Yes. I don't know what it is. I'm putting myself in these situations for some reason.
I'll tell you, I have a theory as to why, because it's like we have to push ourselves out of our comfort zones to evolve and to keep it interesting and fun.
Yeah.
It needs to feel scary.
We got plenty of that. Going on right now. For sure. Yeah. Well, no, I can dig that. I'm sure that's what it is. I'm glad that we are at this place now. I'm glad, like, whatever it took to get here, this is pretty cool. Even though it's like very, sort of scary and all that. It's very cool because, I've been putting out records for a while now, and also now much more well versed at putting out records at all levels, So it's like the total as grassroots as you can get level to like, the house, corporate level. I'm fairly well versed in both of those kinds of scenarios, and I do my best to apply all of that knowledge to the current situation with this new record, and so it's pretty cool to have gotten to this place, rocky road that it was.
Tell me about Egypt.
It was just amazing, life changing. You
did archaeology in Egypt or something like
I
that?
just I wouldn't put myself on that level at all. No, I went with the study group to Egypt in 1998.
Oh, okay.
I brought my sister with me because I was just like, I have a feeling this is going to be pretty life changing. We got to go. And a professor at Georgia State, Asa Hilliard, who was actually a psychology professor by trade, but his real passion and interest was the study of ancient Kemet, Egypt. And I suppose he didn't want to muddy the professional waters with his real passion, kind of like what I felt like with music and going to school for music. It was sort of like, no, this is going to be the thing that I do on my own time, and I don't want any kind of regulation or any potential problems with anything. So this was what he pursued on his own time, and it was he was one of the he was at the forefront of kind of sort of changing the way that a lot of the conventional thought around what happened there and who did it and for what reason. Like he was one of the thinkers at the forefront of recontextualizing all of that. He and Dr. Ben Yakiman and Sheikh Anta Diop, and there was a small group of these intellectuals that were really important in that. And so it was an honor to get to meet him, let alone travel there with him. And we were up at 4 a.m. every day, and we were out at the sites by 6, and it was great because he had a lot of connections. And so if you go to the certain museum or whatever, that's great in and of itself, but Asa's got the hookup to get you into the basement where they got the stuff that's not even on public display right now because they have to rotate these things for preservation purposes. And he was, I got to go inside the pyramids of Giza. There was all kinds of stuff that happened that was just amazing. And so yeah, I would just characterize that trip as life-changing because, for a number of reasons. Again, we grow up here in America with very, very limited knowledge of history, very, very limited. And if you're a person of color in this country, it's like you got to work even harder to get some sense of what you are and what you were and where you come from and what happened. And the African people that created all those monuments over there, and they were doing something that was meant to last forever. They were thinking timeless. They were thinking eternity. They were thinking about their relationship to the stars. They felt like every person corresponds to a star in the sky. They were thinking celestially. They were thinking as hugely as you could. And they had all this stuff mapped out that we're still figuring out how they did it.
They were advanced.
It was just thousands of years of studying. And I will say, even in 1998, when it got dark there, it was a dark like we don't experience in most places in this country. and you are able to get a visual on the sky that is so much more vivid. So I can imagine 10, 15, 20,000 years ago what it must have been like with no electricity, and these guys just, they're dedicating, the priests there, they dedicated their whole lives to just, we're going to, like, one task, we're going to map the stars. We're going to map them, and we're going to record it over time so that we have a celestial map of how things move, how we move in relationship to that stuff. And they did it. And it's like, and that's just one of many things. We're gonna figure out, architecture. We're gonna figure out, medicine and surgeries, and just, it was an amazing achievement. And it happened south of Egypt, and was basically sort of brought what they call up south. So what's now Sudan, that whole area there, and it was just migrated upwards to be nearer the water because of military, tactical purposes. It's like we can maybe protect ourselves better here and build our kingdom here. And it was just amazing what went on there and how long it went on. And a lot of that stuff is so much older than it's been dated in terms of common knowledge, what the dating is, and fascinating. So it was just a great thing to do all the way around, and I'm really glad I did it.
Yeah, I've heard it said like that it's like evidence that we're living in a simulation. Because they can't explain it.
Well, I will say, I saw for instance, there's a monument at Abu Simbel that Ramses II is credited with building. Of course, Ramses used to sometimes put his name on things he didn't build and take credit for things, but there's this amazing monument, and I believe he did build this one because the likeness of him, his wife, it forms the entranceway, and we're talking about a gigantic structure. They're cut right into the side of the mountain, the likenesses of them, and you walk sort of in between their ankles to get into the temple. And when you get in there, it opens up into this room of what were amazing displays of paintings and so on, and miniatures of the statues, that the likenesses that form the entrance, and probably a lot of other things that we'll never know about. But this whole place would have been gilded in gold, solid gold, and then when you get to the back, there is the exact reproduction of the likenesses in the entryway in miniature in solid gold. And when it was built, Ramses had it built so that only on his coronation day and on his birthday, one of which was in February, one of which was in October, I believe, and I can't remember which was which right now, but only on those 2 days the sun goes all the way, shines all the way into the cave structure and lights up the entire place all the way to the back. And so
Hollywood stuff.
You know what I mean? So
it's a simulation, man.
So so the Nile started flooding this place, and over years and years it would flood it and damage things. So they decided to move the entire structure up the mountain up the rock face. So they carved it out, moved it up so it was safe from the Nile's flooding. They could not, for the life of them, modern architects with all of our advancement, could not figure out how to get that place to light up on those 2 days. They just couldn't get it together. So now it lights up like most of the way. Doesn't get all the way to the back.
That's
like it
wild.
did back in the day. Yeah, I mean, incredible stuff. I saw Ramses II's mummy, which was not on display at the time. Got to go down in the basement and see it. I saw Nefertari. Ramses looked like my grandfather on my mother's side.
Right.
Nefertari and all the other ladies I saw, they looked like my nana. They looked like my aunts. They looked, even had the hair braided the same way and everything. It was just like, here we go, man. I grew up with a criminal lack of awareness and knowledge of myself, my folks, my heritage, my everything. And of course, that was by design. That was how it was configured. You were supposed to have none of that, and it worked. And so to get it as an adult, as a relatively young adult, I was like 30 years old when I went to Egypt. Better late than never.
Meaning you were left unaware that you come from some form of royalty.
Or just that your people that look like you achieve these amazing things that thousands of years from then we're still trying to figure out what in the world happened, what in the world, like, oh my God, how did they do it? We still can't figure it out. Oh my God. And here, I don't even want to go down that road because I'll get mad. It's like you're taught nothing, and what you're taught is nothing.
Right.
It's insulting.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's criminal. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Criminal. You taught nothing.
Yeah. Well, it's the challenge of educating yourself.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, and also not only is that the case, but then, you know, what society does is, like, you know, there's so many booby traps.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh my God.
And then talk about the demons playing racquetball in your head too.
But between it all, it's like all designed to get you, isn't it?
Well, it's all designed to, you know, if you look at it in a positive way, it's designed to, like, you know, sort of strengthen and challenge you. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
And you know, you've done a good job, my friend.
I'm doing my best, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for doing the podcast.
Oh man, it's been an honor.
You have any questions?
I have a hole in the timeline that I'm curious about. In 2002, when Jerry was doing solo and you guys were playing with him, that's when Lane passed away.
Right.
And by the way you described your band and your ferocity, and so when Jerry asked you, hey, do you want to join, was the band Come With the Fall over? Or like, that's like, why would you want to leave it?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Well, the thing is, at the time that I was asked, it was like, we have a few shows booked. So there was no grand plan of we're going to be sitting here 13 years later, you know, having done 3 albums and all these world tours. What it was at the time, it was proposed as, we want to kind of do a victory lap. We want to just celebrate the music that we did. And so there was this feeling that I could do justice to that, serve that whole objective, and we could go out and we could do something. It was going to be like, we got a few shows booked, we got to do this VH1 thing to start with, and then, you know, and then it's just kind of like, whatever, you know what I mean? Maybe we'll work for most of this year or something like that, 2006. It might be like, you know, like the way it was put to me, like, you know, you won't have to worry about rent for maybe, you know, the rest of this year or something like that.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was in the red, like heavily in the red from the Comes With the Fall DVD that we did. So, you know, so I was like, okay, yeah, cool, you know.
Yeah.
And so, and then it just took on a life of its own once we got out there on the road, of course.
Yeah.
Which was always a possibility, but not something that we had any idea for sure was going to happen.
Yeah, so you weren't angling for that.
Not angling, because no way could you angle. Like I said, there was so much noise going around about how dare they, blah, blah, all this stuff, and so we just kind of went out there and did our thing, and then and we saw very early on that we had our own thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
When we hit the stage, it was like, okay, this is serious, because you got this guy that's been, you know, in myself, you got this guy that's been, you know, kind of at it for a while and, you know, done some stuff, but like, you know, like still had a lot of stuff to work out,
stuff to prove
on stage and stuff. Yeah, to prove to myself and prove to the world and all that. So I really was just, oh my God, I was just like, oh, I will stomp this fucking stage on the ground. And they were also kind of in this place like, we weren't sure we would ever do this again, and there's this whole like proving it, you know, to themselves kind of thing, and working out issues that go back a long way, all this stuff. We brought all that stuff, and we just lit it off, man. And like, we did it everywhere we went, night after night, and a lot of like 4 in a rows and 5 in a rows, and just stuff that you don't do when you're of a certain status. You know what I mean? We were kind of starting not from the beginning, but we were starting from way down the totem pole, and having to prove it to ourselves and to everybody else night after night. And it just kind of took on a life of its own. So it wasn't like this conscious thing of like, I'm now going to. In fact, while we were touring that first year, that was when I was writing, recording, finishing the Beyond the Last Light album from Comes of the Fall and the Reckoning EP, which was recorded at the same time at Bakos's. So all of that was happening concurrently, you know, and put out Beyond the Last Light in 2007 and put out the Reckoning EP in 2006. So as we were touring, I put out the Reckoning EP.
So it wasn't the end of the band yet.
No. And you know, honestly, it's like, I don't know if that band has an end. If it does, we haven't reached it yet because we're all still together. Here. We're just all still alive, and it's like you don't know what the future holds. But as of right now, everybody's kind of into their own thing, you know.
What was Bakos saying about you joining Alice in Chains? Was he psyched for you?
I don't even know. I mean,
or did you ever even talk about it?
Maybe we did. You know, I was more focused at the task at hand at the time.
Yeah.
And I was writing a lot of the lyrics to the songs on the Reckoning EP and Beyond the Last Light in the studio. So there was a lot of like just channeling everything that was happening.
Right.
And that kind of making its way onto the record. So he would go into the little room he had with a little television and I'd just be in there scribbling and like, okay, I got it. And then we'd lay it down. And so there was a lot of that stuff and exploring guitar overdubs and things like that. So we didn't really have a lot of time to go over, you know, Alice, blah, blah, blah.
I love this harmonies in Alice in Chains, that it's like harmonies all the time.
Yeah.
You know, that's a unique.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's unique.
Yeah.
How's that singing in that sort of harmony way
it's
for
cool,
whole song? Do you love it?
It's cool. I mean, it's like you develop a real appreciation for it because I didn't really grow up with that.
Yeah.
And a lot of my music is not so centered on that, and so it's been a cool thing to explore. Like Cantrell and I try to get it to where it's almost like we're one person, like you can't tell who is who sometimes.
Right.
So to get that kind of fusion, the meticulousness of recording that's a hell of a thing, you know. I mean like vowel sounds are exact, you know what I mean? Like endings of phrases and words are exact.
Mm-hmm.
The way you hit the S and all, you know. I mean, it's kind of, you know, from my way of producing records, it's quite different. The recording process of Alice in Chains is 1,000 times longer than any record I've made outside of that group. The process itself is a way more like seasons are passing and like things are, you know, like
meticulous. Presidents
are changing and
because of Jerry,
people are being born and dying. You know, like families are changing, and no, it's just because of it's what the music
calls for,
requires, I guess, and it's what this particular group of people require in order to work together. It's like just a different thing, and so. There's so much more that goes into it. There's also, I don't know, it's just different on every level. But the point is that when it comes to the vocalizing and getting those harmonies, like part of it is the meticulousness that you have to approach it with and getting it to a place where it's like, whoa, like that really just sounds like one being. Like sometimes we can't even tell who did what,
right? And
it's at that point it's kind of like, well, okay, I guess mission accomplished then, you know. So
it's a trademark, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
It's cool.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a sonic signature,
and it's badass sounding.
It is, man. It's cool to have like I don't know. It's like I don't know. I was gonna say it's almost like those vocal bands, like the Mamas and the Papas of the Association or something, but set to the heavy music.
Righteous Brothers.
You know what I mean? Right.
Yeah.
You know, especially with the dual thing. Yeah. You know, and but set to like this dark heavy music. It is cool. It is cool. And it takes work, man. We take it real seriously. And live, same thing. Like people think all the time, oh, it just sounds so great, you must use tracks. We don't use one fucking track. We wouldn't even know how to do that.
Right.
You know, it's just the four of us. That's all.
Get a college kid with Ableton, man. That's all you need. No, I'm just kidding.
we you know, I'm so proud of the fact that we have not done that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Doesn't
so
even
proud.
need to be in college.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. my son could probably do it. You know what I mean? Like the way he's coming up. But it's like, no, I'm so proud of the fact that it's just us. You just got
Yeah,
these
it's
two
a rock
guitars,
band.
these two voices, these, you know, bass and drums, and we do it all.
Right.
You know?
So what's next is you got this City Winery tour coming up. And
It's a national tour, actually.
National
so
tour.
It even goes past City Winery. We're getting into, but yeah, the fall tour is mostly I guess, City Wineries with a few other places.
And how long are you going to be touring for?
This first tour is just pretty quick. We go from October 21st in Atlanta till November 3rd in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Then I pick it back up next year and do some more out west.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then is Alice in Chains recording anytime soon, or did y'all just finish, or what's going on?
We just finished.
Just
a
finished,
long
so
cycle. Yeah.
We're not talking about
We
that
just
right
finished
now.
A long
Yeah.
cycle.
All right.
New album out this Friday.
This Friday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's great.
It's exciting though.
It really is.
New frontiers.
Totally, man.
You know.
Totally.
And we'll put the 2 songs you played at the end of the podcast for people to hear.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on, man. Cool. I hope they came out okay. I don't even know. It's all a
Sounded
blur.
great.
If they
It's
came
all-
out okay, they'll be at the end of the podcast.
It's all a blur now. I don't know.
They were great.
Cool, man.
William, nice.
If you say
nice-
so, then I believe it.
Yeah, I do. It
Thank you.
was really great.
Thank you, man.
Great to meet you, man.
You too, dude.
Thank you, man.
Seriously, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck at
Oh,
FUV
what,
tomorrow.
give your socials or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. I'm on Facebook, William DuVall Music. I'm on Instagram at William DuVall Official, and Twitter at William DuVall, and of course my site, WilliamDuVall.com. That's where the action is.
Word up. All right.
I don't know if I'm supposed to be looking at that camera. I just,
It doesn't matter.
Wow.
hey, William DuVall Official at William DuVall, at William DuVall Official, William DuVall Music, and at William DuVall and WilliamDuVall.com.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Hi, this is Joseph Arthur. Thanks for checking out Come to Where I'm From. Please support us on Patreon, patreon.com/come to where I'm from. We are an independent podcast, and any contributions you can make are greatly appreciated.